folks, and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-qualifying edition for the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. And shock horror, we don't have a Mercedes on pole position. I know, hard to believe. It had looked to be going in Ferrari's direction ever since practice 2. And not just Ferrari's direction actually, but Charles Leclerc's direction. He has held it in the palm of his hand really since that second practice session kicked off. This was a weekend which we expected to play to Ferrari's strengths. It's a power circuit, but did they have the car that could hold it through the corners? I've kind of given it away now, haven't I? Yes, they do. And Charles does have a second career and for 2019 pole position here at the Red Bull Ring. Great stuff. But we started, of course, as we always start, with Q1. Perhaps no surprise to see the Williams on the last row of the grid, as they have been pretty much all season long. Well, certainly if not starting from the last row of the grid due to penalties and things, then certainly qualifying on the last row of the grid. Kubica 20th, George Russell P19. Russell, actually there was a bet going on in the media centre earlier today about whether George would qualify ahead of more than just Robert Kubica, because he's been getting closer and closer to some of the other times throughout practice and in qualifying. Had a good run until right near the end, and right near the end, dawdling, I think is the only way you can describe it, through the last couple of corners. He said to me the team had not told him that there was a faster car coming through. That faster car was Danny Kvyat, who has qualified in P18. We're going to hear from him in a moment. P17, Lance Stroll. Again, no surprise to see him out of Q1, but Sergio Perez joins him out of Q1. Is that to do with the overall level of the car? Stroll believes he got everything out of the car he could. He didn't leave anything on the table as he has done in other races. Sergio, though, disagrees. Sergio said he could have been much higher up, got traffic. So although Lance thinks that's the ultimate level of the car, Checo disagrees with that, thinks the car should have been much higher. Anyway, we're going to talk to Danny Kvyat, qualified P18, but only because he came across the Williams of George Russell through that penultimate corner. George told us not intentional. Here's what Danny had to say.
Yeah, well, unfortunately our qualifying was ruined because of blocking in last corners, and they lost a lot of time there. So yeah, what can I say? It's frustrating, and tomorrow we'll do our best to recover what happened today, but it's going to be a difficult race.
Do you think you could have had a top 10 today, or was the pace not quite there?
I don't know, but I know that I lost a lot of time in the last two corners and almost risked my life in a way, because the approaching speed was huge. But yeah, it was frustrating at that time, but what can we do now? And yeah, maybe today we could have been again in Q3, maybe, or maybe close to it at least. And starting from where we start today is not ideal.
I spoke to George about it earlier. He said the team hadn't told him anything and he had no idea you were coming, wasn't deliberate. But even with that in mind, should drivers not on a fast lap stick further over to the right through those final couple of corners?
I spoke to him too, he said the same thing, so I don't think he could have done a lot in that case. I always double check my mirrors personally, maybe I can advise that too, but yeah, other than that, I think not much can bring back my qualifying now. No matter the penalty he will get, he's there anyway at the back of the grid. So my qualifying is ruined today, and but we'll try to do a nice race tomorrow.
So that is Q1 and positions 20 to 16. Danny Kvyat and George Russell seeing the stewards at the moment over that moment at the end of the session. Right, and so to Q2. Q2 was always going to be an interesting one. A couple of drivers up in there who have engine penalties for this weekend and would therefore be starting from the back of the grid. One of those, Carlos Sainz, qualified P15. His job today was to make it into Q2 to give Lando the tow that would see him go through to Q3. Job done for Carlos, so he sat in the garage and did nothing else for the day. Said he had utterly boring weekend up to this point because he knows he's taking a penalty, hasn't run the higher engine modes, and basically has just been twiddling his thumbs and not really enjoying himself. Car though looks good. He says he's really happy in it. The annoying thing is he's going to start from the back of the field. Daniel Ricciardo, P14. Now there was an issue for Renault overnight between practice 2 and practice 3. We saw oscillation on the rear wing when the DRS was open. They've had to change the DRS mechanism between Friday and Saturday. But Daniel says it's not so much to do with that. It just doesn't feel happy with the car. P13, Alex Albon for Toro Rosso. His job was to give Danny Kvyat a tow. just like Carlos, his job was to give Lando Norris a tow. But Fiat never made it into Q2. So Albon was like, I didn't really have much to do. The only thing that he could do was out-qualify Carlos Sainz in order to start ahead of him in the race tomorrow, which he duly did because Carlos didn't set a lap. So Alex was pretty happy with that. P12, Nico Hulkenberg, we're going to hear from him. P11, Romain Grosjean. The car looking good over 1 lap. They've got that 1 lap pace seemingly back. I said, what about race pace? His exact words were, let's not lie to each other. The GPS doesn't look promising. He is not looking forward to tomorrow at all. Let's talk to Nico Hulkenberg though. Ricciardo struggled with the car. Was the same true for the German?
I've been struggling all weekend, that's fair to say. But yeah, not having a clear second lap definitely hindered our chances. I felt I had more, a tenth and a half more in the car, and that would have been enough to see us through, I believe. So yeah, it's a bit frustrating. If it doesn't run smoothly, also you have these kind of little things that don't go your way. But that's racing, I guess. And tomorrow we come from behind and see what we can do.
There's been some changes to the car between yesterday and today. Were they good? Was the car feeling good underneath you into today? Yeah, I have to say, I never had a race weekend in my career where we've tried basically everything that we have in our toolbox. We've been since P1 upside down, left, right, center with this setup. We physically tried everything. So, you can't blame us for a lack of trying. We definitely did that. But it's just that the car doesn't feel so happy in the corners here, and we just don't have the key for it. It's probably to do with downforce car characteristic that don't suit the car here. And yeah, hence the not so good pace. So literally just a circuit that flat out does not suit the car.
Pretty much, yeah.
So interesting to hear from Nico Hulkenberg about the woes being experienced at Renault with the car that just, for some reason, and they can't quite figure it out, does not suit this track. Tomorrow could be pretty tough for them, which brought us to Q3. Now a surprise in P10 at the end of Q2. Ferrari guys milling around the car, an issue on the left side. And it turned out that issue was an air pressure line to the engine. Seb didn't even get out to do a lap. So he qualifies in P10, but we'll start from slightly higher and we'll tell you why. P9, Pierre Gasly. Gasly is dropping back now from Max Verstappen. The gap was about 5 tenths. Last time out it was 6 tenths. Today, 7 tenths. Not happy with himself, feels he let himself and the team down, just didn't get it together. P8, a great run. Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo, a great run from him, and from Kimi Räikkönen in P7. Happy that the team is making progress as they showed last time out at Circuit Paul Ricard. Unhappy though. And this is something we need to talk about with Lewis Hamilton, and a moment in Q1 at which Kimi was on a lap. Lewis was on the inside on his out lap and ran deep into turn 3 to allow Kimi to come through. They are going to the stewards now. Under investigation, Lewis Hamilton is for blocking Kimi Räikkönen in Q1. P6, Lando Norris. Absolutely thrilled, obviously there because of the tow from Carlos Sainz, but put it all together, put it down, put the marker. Great lap from him. Great job for McLaren to see him in P6. And at the moment, if Lewis Hamilton stays where he is, then Lando will start actually in P5, because qualifying in P5 was Kevin Magnussen. So happy. Doesn't know where the lap came from. The reason that he won't start in P5 is because he has a penalty. The penalty comes from the fact that he has a gearbox pen. The team had to change his gearbox after FP3. Both sides of the garage working on that gearbox to get it fitted to the car. Absolutely delighted. So happy with a car that looks great. But as Roman said, is it a car that's got race pace? They're not massively optimistic for that. Then P4, Valtteri Bottas, really unhappy. Actually, the team didn't tell him that he had 20 seconds before crossing the line, so he thought he had to rush across the line. Followed it too close to the car in front, got dirty air, didn't have a great lap, actually had 20 seconds, could have pulled back a bit, given himself a bit more space, gone for a better run. So yeah, not happy, but starts on the medium tyre, so strategy options for the race. Who should we hear from, Steve? I think Seb's a good one, isn't he? Yeah, out of position, P10. Let's hear from Sebastian Vettel on a disappointing day. But Seb, as is increasingly becoming his way, seeing the positives in what would otherwise be a pretty miserable Saturday afternoon for him?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, we chose a different strategy, also by qualifying 10th. But yeah, we'll see what tomorrow brings. Should be a fun race. I think the car is good. We have some good speed. I think Charles proved that today. So I'm happy at least for one side of the garage. For us, obviously, it was a bit tricky, but yeah. We'll be there tomorrow.
Was this set up expecting to lead, or do you have a car that you think is going to be okay in the dirty air and able to overtake?
Well, it should be okay. I mean, it's never great in traffic, but I think we can go faster than the people ahead of us, and then we take it from there. So we'll see. I think strategists now flat out trying to find the best way around P10, but yeah, for sure we should have a fun race, passing people. Let's see how many of them.
All of which brings us to the top 3. Max Verstappen in 3rd, a great run from him on home soil for Red Bull Racing in P2. Lewis Hamilton tops the first practice session, but since then has been trying to cut into the lead of Charles Leclerc, and it is Charles Leclerc on pole position with a dominant weekend so far for him, for Ferrari. Let's hear from that top 3 and from a jubilant and very positive and optimistic Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, I was very happy all weekend with the car overall. So yeah, as I said, I've changed my approach coming to Paul Ricard. I kept this approach for here, and it seems to work. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, a good day for me, not for the team, unfortunately, with Seb having a problem in Q3, which is a shame. But yeah, tomorrow hopefully a very good race, and I hope a first victory for me.
Hope so. Both of you start on the soft tyre. Seb, with the look of maybe coming through the field, for you, running away and hiding. Is that what it's got to be?
I really hope so. I really hope that I'll be running away and then just manage my race, but I think it's going to be more difficult than that. But yeah, we have the advantage with the tyre choice at the start, so hopefully we can keep that first position, and then yeah, we are pretty happy about our race pace, so hopefully we can keep to that, stay in this first position.
With that in mind, though, it's been hot all weekend. Temperature tomorrow looks like it could be as high as 34, possibly 35 degrees on the soft tyre. If they get too hot and hit a cliff, that could be a massive sort of fly in the ointment.
No, I'm happy with our tyre choice. So yeah, it will be warm, but we are pretty confident it will work.
I think that we were told that we'll be very, very close. It would be potentially thousandths of a second. It turned out to be quite a bit more. Once we went out in Q1, there were 7 tenths ahead, and then we had to have another stab at it. And then each time we were kind of closing it, but they were always 4 tenths ahead. So I'm actually really happy with my lap at the end to have at least closed a bit the gap. But yeah, they were very, very fast today.
And your lap in Q2 puts you on an alternate strategy for tomorrow, which could play into your hands. Hopefully,
We'll find out in the next couple of hours, and then obviously the harder tyre, whether or not it's faster on the long run, I don't really know. The soft tyre, when I did the long run yesterday, it was working pretty well for me for a long period of time, and there's a potential of a 1 or 2 stop tomorrow. So yeah, I just want to be in there in the mix, and I really, really hope that, you know, for the fans, that we can have this cool battle between us 3. But we shall see. As you say, you'll find out within the next couple of hours. Part of the next couple of hours will be the stewards meeting. Talk us through that incident with Kimi in Q1. Yeah, I don't really remember it super clearly, but I had no intention ever to get in the way of someone. And think from what I remember, I was out on new tyres going up to turn 1, turn 3, and one car had come past, and all of a sudden I saw another car approaching, and I started braking, and I was like, I'm going to meet him in the corner, can't stop. So like, come off the brakes and go straight on and try and get out of the way, in which I did. So I need to see the replay and whether I actually really got in the way or not, or if he just backed out. But yeah, I think this is one of my first qualifyings this year where I'm actually smiling, because I didn't expect this on this track, where we know it's always hard for us, but yeah, the car the whole weekend has been really good. It has, and you've looked competitive for the race tomorrow. Have you got a good race car underneath you? I don't know, I haven't done a long run. I was stunting around the track doing some advertising for Red Bull, but yeah, we'll find out. From what you know, from what the team managed to gather from Pierre, do you think you've got an inherently good car? Should be all right. I mean, if we already have this pace in qualifying, then normally in the race we can maybe be a little bit closer, and yeah, then it's game on. So that is your lot from Paddock Pass.
Stewards have decided grid drop for Lewis Hamilton for impeding Kimi Raikkonen in Q1, so that jumbles up the order for tomorrow, but leaves us with a pretty thrilling front row. The two young pretenders to Lewis Hamilton's championship crown. It will be Leclerc on pole alongside the home favourite Max Verstappen. What a front row for the Austrian Grand Prix. Can't wait for it. Join us for what promises to be a really exciting race.